everybody. So today we're going to talk about how to use Wwise and Unity to put your music into a sample game in Unity. So you should have gotten and already downloaded this this file as a zip folder, or this folder as a zip file. It's called scoring-2D game. So go ahead and download that. You also need to download Unity. And you need to download Wwise. So download all those, install those two programs on your computer, or use a computer that already has them installed. Then you need to boot Unity. And Unity will automatically boot with this hub thing. And if you haven't opened any projects before, it may not display everything here. But since I've already opened the game, it has it. If you don't see the game in this window, go to Add, and then select the Scoring-2D game folder. Once you have that selected, it'll import the game into Unity. So I can just click on it, and it will import. One other thing that you should have is the Wwise 2D project. So actually, if you look inside of this folder, the Scoring-2D game folder, I'm just going to put a folder in there that's screenshots. And the screenshots have the information about the specs that we're going to step through right now. So this is just a reference doc of the way that the settings are supposed to look. So for both Unity and for Wwise. So use these as a reference as well as this video. May take Unity a minute to boot. For me right now, since I'm running Unity at the same time as OBS to do the recording, it's pretty heavy on my computer. It says my CPU is running at like 50% right now, which is pretty high. All right. Okay, so here is the Unity session. And the Unity session, this is the default view for Unity. We have the game window here. Over here in the hierarchy to the left shows all of the modules within this scene of the game. So, for example, the map, the backgrounds, the cameras, the character. Our protagonist, our character in this game is named Ellen. So these are all of the modules and various things in the game for our character in this scene. If you go to 2D Game Kit right here, this is holds all the files for this game. You want to click on Scenes so that here in the project window we can see different options. So for example, we can go to the Start scene, and then if we press Start here, this is going to take us into the gameplay at that specific scene. So you'll notice that the hierarchy all changed down here because it's a different set of stuff. Then if I go to Zone 1, I have a different set of hierarchy stuff, and then I can use the inspector here to click on any one of these modules, and it'll bring up all of the the components of that. So let's press play right here to check out what the game sounds like right now. Or maybe it's just gonna crash. Holy cow. All right. Man, this is heavy on my computer. Okay. So we can move around. We have sound effects. And it's great. We don't have any music, but we can run around and jump and stuff. Okay, so if I press play again up here, then it takes me out of gameplay mode and back into editing mode. Okay, so as of right now, there is no music put in here. One important thing is the Wwise picker. This is like a shortcut between our game project in Unity and its operations in Wwise, and what we're going to use Wwise for as far as handling the audio. And it's saying that the connection is refused just because I haven't opened the project in Wwise. So I've got my project open in Unity. It's currently empty as far as music is concerned, but let's go ahead and open Wwise to fix that. So I'm going to click on the Wwise launcher. The Wwise launcher, since I've already opened this project in Unity, it will show up in Wwise as something I can open. So projects will show any previous projects you may have done in Wwise. I am going to go over to the Unity tab, and this game right here is what I currently have open in Unity, scoring-2D game. So I've already got it open in Unity, but I'm going to open it in Wwise. There we go. So me running this on my computer with OBS running is heavy, right? But you may have a slower computer, so it may act similarly, going as slow as mine is. So I actually opened it twice because I clicked on it twice, so I'm going to close one of them. Okay, so just click on that once. Okay, so here is the basic Wwise interface. This interactive music thing you're not going to need, so I would just I'm just going to close that for now. So you've got the Project Explorer over here, and then all these tabs. So these different tabs are different ways of looking at the audio files you have in Wwise, and then the different ways that those audio files interact with the game. So we're going to have to create, we're going to have to bring in some audio files. We're going to have to make some events. And then we're going to have to take those events and create sound banks with them. So sound banks are the biggest hierarchy in Wwise, basically. And a sound bank can contain a bunch of events. Events are the things that are triggered, and the events contain audio files. So we're gonna first start with the audio files, then make the events, then make the sound bank, and then we can take it over to Unity. So audio, we are going to use the actor mixer hierarchy. This is the main type of audio use for Wwise, and we're not doing interactive music or anything, so we're just going to use that. So if you click on the default work unit, we are going to import some audio files. So I just right-clicked on it, and then you can see the shortcut is Shift-I to import audio files. And I am going to just grab some files from my computer. Let's see here. They have to be WAV files, which is a little bit weird, but you know, this is slightly more Mac friendly, I think, than, or slightly more PC friendly than it is Mac. Okay, so I'm going to take sound file number 1, this vibe sample. I'm going to grab the Persona 5 battle theme.wave, and then I'm going to grab a file from the class. Let's see, I think I'll do one of, it's the first one I can find. Here's one of Destin's. So it lists where these files are, and then it's importing them as sound effects. That doesn't matter. For this purpose, they're just sounds, right? And then we're going to press import. And then it's saying that they already exist because, you know, I've made this session before. Yours will not say that they already exist, right? But I'm going to click replace. Okay, so now within my actor mixer hierarchy, within my default work unit, I have 3 different sound files. So these are the compositions that you should make for this game. So zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 of the game. If you double click, if you click on one of the files here, so after you do anything, you should save it. So after I created this, there's also different layouts there's different ways to view the project. So normally you want to use the designer layout. So if I click on the designer layout and I have one of my files highlighted, it shows up here in this window. And so this is, I can make edits to my file, or down here in the transport, I can just play it. And you should be able to hear it. And actually, let me change my project settings really quick. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's a better output. So you should be able to test and play your sound files in here, looking at them in the sound property editor and playing them in the transport control. So great, now we've got audio files. The next thing is to make events. So click on events, and as of right now, there's nothing in there. So under where it says default work unit, we're going to make 3 events. So 1 for each composition. And the little icon right here is to create a new event. It's kind of hard to see, but it's the 4th icon over. So I'm going to call these zone 1. I'm going to make 3 of them. Zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And that's the only reason I'm calling them zones instead of areas or anything else, is that's what it's called in the game. They name them zones, so I'm just using the same terminology. So if you look at any one of these, it'll tell you what is inside this event. And as of right now, there's nothing inside of the events. Like, I've made them, but I haven't told them what to do. Whenever this event gets triggered, as of right now, nothing's going to happen. So if I click on zone 1, I have to go back over to the audio tab, and then I can drag in one of my files. So I'm going to drag in what I want for my first scene, which is, for me, this is vibe. So now that I have this selected, in zone 1, I should be able to play that. and hear it. So now in zone 1, if I play it, I hear sound sample number 1, my first composition. So you should be able to play the audio and hear the composition, and then you should be able to select the event and play the composition. So we'll do that for all 3. So zone 1 has something, zone 2 has nothing yet. So I'm going to drag in a composition. So now, so it didn't work. Let me try it again. Okay, so now zone 2 has a Persona 5 theme. And then I'm going to do for zone 3, currently empty, I'm going to drag over Destin's piece. And you can't click and drag. It's a little weird. You don't click and drag it over, you don't click and hold and drag, you just hold and drag. It's a little bit weird. It took me, maybe it's a PC thing, but it took me a little bit of time to get used to that. So now I have my 3 events. If I click on the events tab and I look at them, each one has a different sound file in it. You can see the name of the sound file, we can play them, they all sound different. Great. So we're still not ready to put our sound files in the game yet. Now we have to make sound banks. So the banks hold the events, which hold the audio files. So now click on sound banks. And actually now we want to change our layout to be the sound banks layout. Okay, so now this looks different. So under default work unit, we want to make 3 sound banks, 1 per zone or per composition. So if you press on this little logo, I'm going to call this sound bank zone 1, sound bank zone 2, and sound bank zone 3. And if I click on one of them, we can see that, so here are my sound banks, but we can see that there's nothing in them. So if I go over to the events tab, I can take the event of zone 1 and drag it over into the sound bank for zone 1. And now the sound bank for zone 1 contains event, default work unit, event for zone 1. So now let me click on the event for zone 2, drag it into zone 2, the event for zone 3, click and drag it over to sound bank zone 3. Okay, so all of these now, if I see sound bank zone 1, that has event zone 1, which contains my first composition. Sound bank zone 2 contains event zone 2, which contains my second composition, and so on. Sound bank zone 3, event zone 3 has my third composition. It won't let me demo these because sound banks, they don't play audio, they just hold files. So this is cool. Go to generate all. So now it's generating the sound banks that Unity will use for all the different platforms and for all the different events that you have. So it contains 3 media items for each of these platforms. I didn't get any errors. Yeah. And press close. So now we're actually ready to save our project. And now we're ready to actually integrate it into Unity. So, and actually now that I've done that saving, Unity starts popping up over here. Like, hey, what did you do? Okay, so I go back to Unity. Now I should go to the Wwise Picker window. If you don't see that window down here, you can get to it if you go to Window and Wwise Picker. So you can pull it up again. Once I have Wwise Picker, click on Refresh Project and Generate Sound Banks. Get out of the way here. So Refresh Project and Generate Sound Banks. And that just reaffirms all the stuff that's in Wwise and make sure that it's current in Unity. The other thing about the Wwise picker is that it's kind of a shortcut. It shows all of the files, all the stuff that I've made in Wwise. So here are events, here are sound banks, other stuff you don't need to know about, and here are buses. So you'll notice there are no audio files in here. So the audio files, in Unity you can do a direct audio file, but in Wwise manages your audio files and connects to Unity through events and sound banks. Okay, so now let's drag in our sound for our first area here. So whenever we start the game here, we want to hear our first audio file. So what we need to do is make a new empty game object. So right here under the hierarchy, press this plus and then create empty. And down here in the hierarchy at the very bottom, it creates a game object that's empty. So let's rename this game object Zone 1 Music. So this is your music that you're now putting into the game is through here. Also notice that there's this Wwise global component. That's fine. Don't change it. You need it for Wwise to work, and it's there, and that's good. So here's Zone 1 Music. Now we need to add some components. So the first thing we need to add is a component that's called AK Ambient. So if I press on the components window, add component, this search function shows up. Whenever you click on AK Ambient, it creates two things. The first is a AK game object, and then it also creates AK Ambient. So AK stands for Audio Kinetic, which is the company that builds and maintains Wwise. So it's basically pulling up stuff from Wwise. So the AK game object, you only need to do one thing with this, which is to uncheck environment aware. So we're just making it a little bit simpler, and then I'm going to get that out of the way. Now we have AK Ambient. So this is saying when are we going to pull up some sound banks for this scene? Trigger on start is correct, and you want to press where name is, and it says no event is currently selected, and we're going to choose our event for Zone 1. So if I try to play this, let's see if it works. Yeah, okay, so it's not going to work because I haven't loaded in my event yet. So, and I haven't loaded in my sound bank for that event. So it's trying to call an event, but it can't find the sound bank. The next thing we need to add, so add component, and we're going to add AK bank, the sound bank, so that the event can actually work. So on the start of the scene, it's going to load. Let's click where no sound bank is selected and select Zone 1. Press OK. So now I'm going to save my project and press play. So sometimes it's not going to work right away in the demo mode over here. You'll actually have to start the game for it to do that. So I've saved my project. I'm just for safety going to press refresh project and generate sound banks. That I shouldn't actually need to do that, but yeah. I'm also going to go over to console and get rid of this error message because I just fixed that. So console clear. I'm going to try playing this one more time, see if it works. It doesn't have to. Yeah, let's see if it works in the game. So now to see if my sound bank and my events are working in the game, let's press play up here to go into game mode. It won't take this long for your computer. All right. So now, I can play the game, and my audio plays. If I go down here to the next area, the audio should stop. Okay, so I go into scene zone 2, and now the zone 1 music isn't loaded here, so it should stop. Great. So if I press play again up there, it takes me out of the game mode and back to zone 1. Cool, great. So that works now. I'm going to save it. So these settings work just fine. And it's weird because the settings didn't work before I started the game, but then whenever I tried to play the game, it like reinitializes everything and then it works. So don't worry about that if it happens to you. So zone 1, the music is integrated and it's complete. So now we just need to do the same thing for zone 2 and zone 3. So same exact process. So double click on zone 2. It now takes you to a different area. If you press play right here, then you would start gameplay in that area. And you'll notice that, so here's Wwise Global, but now my music player is gone. So all the work that I did about putting my music into zone 1 only applies to zone 1. So let's make a new empty game object. I'm going to name it zone 2 music. We're going to create an ambient, AK ambient. We're going to turn off the environment aware for the game object. We're going to load in zone 2 for the event, because now we're in zone 2. And here, let me get myself out of the way. And we're going to add sound bank, AK bank component. And we're going to add sound bank zone 2. And so the bank, this is important. Bank starts on load and unloads on destroy. So that means whenever you go to a new scene, zone 2 music will stop. So I'm going to save it. And in order to test this, I'm going to go back to zone 1. And I'm going to play the game and go from zone 1 to zone 2 and see if the music stops and starts. Oh boy, it's heavy on my computer. All right. Okay, so that was great. So zone 1 had its music cue, and then whenever I went into zone 2, the music for zone 1 stopped, and I got the music for zone 2. Amazing. So the only thing we need to do left is to do the same thing for zone 3. There's one little extra thing you need to do in zone 3. I'm not sure exactly why, it's just kind of a quirk. And that is, you need to click on the main character, Ellen. Go to where it says audio listener and uncheck this. So I've now turned off the audio listener that's on the character herself. And the reason for that is that if you leave it on, you're going to get a garbled mess. It's going to play the audio from zone 1 and the audio from zone 3. So just go to Ellen, audio listener, and uncheck it. Other than that, I just do the same exact process. I create a new empty game object, name it zone 3 music, create the AK ambient object, disable the environment aware, connect it to a event for zone 3, and then create the bank for it to call from. AK bank, I connect that to zone 3 sound bank, and that's it. It's now integrated. So just to test it, to see how our game fits in, our music fits into the game, let's go save it, go back to zone 1. Actually, we could go to the start. Let's try that. So the start will start from the selection menu of the game. So I've clicked on start, and then I'm going to click on the play button to see to play the game from the beginning. So actually, don't start at the start. The start loaded a different thing for me. So I'm gonna go. It loaded two things at once. Oh, it's this background music player. Oh, I already have that turned off. Okay, so don't start at start. Start at zone 1. It took so long for me to try to get this to work, and Jose got it over the finish line. Thanks a lot again, Jose, for your help. So I went to zone 1, and now let's press play. Enjoy your first composition here. Composition for area 2. Then it cuts to my composition for area 3. And that's it. So now your game, the game has your music in it, and you can enjoy playing the game, in demo mode with your work in it, which is really cool. And so whenever you turn it in, I think I'm not going to want the whole file, but I'm going to want a recording of you playing it and your Y session. So do a screen recording of you playing with your audio in it. We'll talk more about that later. So that's it for today.